Okay, we're going to be looking at how to add in a new entry into the Our Escape uh, Google Sheet that you've been given access to. This is the list of people who've completed or taken part in the game. It's relatively simple, but there are some things we have to remember in order to not, for want of a better phrase, cock the whole thing up. So just going to start by very quickly adding in a new row, and we're going to do this by selecting a row, which we just do by clicking in the first column of an existing row, the last column of an existing row, with the shift key held down, and this gives us a blue square in the bottom right hand corner, which we can see here. If we now pull down that blue square, it will replicate all of the rows with all of the formulas necessary, the stuff that works behind the scenes. You can see we've added in a duplicate row, and what we're going to do is simply type in over the top of a lot of this to add in the additional person. I'm going to act as though I've competed in the game, so this column happens automatically. It just changes the rank to the row for post sorting. So the first one to do is the team name, which we're going to call it my name, so it's easy to recognise. Sorry, quick error there. Great start. Then we're going to double click into the date completed column. As you can see, the 17th of November 2016. We're now somewhere in April, I believe, 4th of April we are. Here we are, 4th of April 2017. Just click on that in the date picker, which comes up when you double click. Just to show again, double click, pick it in the date picker, and off we go. The time after deductions is the column that I've decided is going to be the primary sort. This works quite simply in that obviously you have an hour to complete the game, so your time will either be under or over the hour. The figures in black are the ones under the hour, so they just give the minutes and seconds. Obviously, if the game wasn't completed, people are allowed to take it to the conclusion, they will have an additional 1 hour plus the time on top. So this person took an hour and 10 minutes 56 seconds to get out the game. This person completed the game in 58 minutes and 19 seconds. Very, very easy. So we're going to assume this person is the new winner, so we're going to give them a time of 52 minutes and 30 seconds, just purely arbitrary. So double click on that. So we've got no hours, 52 minutes and 30 seconds. This won't sort automatically at this point, but it's important to do it in that format by typing in over the top of the existing one, because that will give us the correct type of sort. We now have to work out, sadly, the time remaining, because I've noticed that the time remaining to get out didn't always tie up with the time after deductions, and I've assumed that this is due to a penalty system for using hints, etc. It seemed to make sense to me, but this is really the only way that we can actually get a serious sort from the whole range of people who have and haven't completed the game. So we're now just going to have to very quickly work out this column, the time remaining column. Easily enough to do. We just copy a figure from this section, the time remaining, because they have obviously completed it, so they will have a time remaining. Type it in there. If it was completed or time after deductions, it's 52:30. To take that up to the hour, that would be 7 minutes 30 seconds. Would take us up to the hour. It may be that the time as I said, the time remaining that you gave them isn't the same as this figure, but I'm just doing it arbitrarily based on what I know. You could type in any time remaining because the sort isn't done on that column. Did they escape? Yes or no? I'm going to type a yes in there. Time over the limit, that doesn't apply obviously because they escaped, so they weren't over the limit. Then we get to the cache again, just a double click in there. I'll assign an arbitrary value. Let's say they did it in, they picked up £2,500 worth of cash. If you just type that over, it will automatically format again. Number of jewels, I'm going to make this a winning number of jewels, so I'm going to say that I collected 45 jewels. And the number of hints, again, I don't know what how that's allocated, etc., or how you log that, but I'm going to say I took 4 hints. As you can see already in this formula bar, these have already updated, so the new time, this is where the processing is done to find out the leaderboard. We don't want to be touching that, and it's important that we don't touch that because it will screw up the leaderboard aspect, or the what I'm calling the Hall of Fame aspect of it. So we just need to be wary of that. But as you can see, as soon as that data went in, it picked up the new minimums and maximums within this column and found out the name of me as the person who's managed to do it. So I had the best time. And this is the person who's achieved the best time. This is the best jewels, and this is the person who's achieved that. But you'll see how that works later, but I'm just pointing out just in case you're wondering what that is. So now we've got the data in. It's just a simple process. I say a simple process. It's a relatively simple process to perform the sort, to get everything in the right place. What we need to do is basically sort across the whole range of the table, and we do this by clicking in the top left bar, so column A1, always column A1, and then hold the shift key down, go to the bottom and click in the bottom right column. In column J, we do not want to be going and sorting across columns K, L and M. Otherwise, as I said, that will make a horrendous mess of things. So if we can just always remember just to include columns A through to J, we also include the header. So we're going from column A1 right down to the bottom right, which in this case is column J51. And then we're going to perform the sort, which I keep saying it's relatively simple. Not really for me to say, but it is relatively simple. If we click on data, what we're doing is sorting it within a range. So we click on sort within range. The data has a header row, and you'll see this changes that the column that we're selecting to represent the actual columns at the top across here. What the primary sort is the time after deductions column. Time after deductions, as you can see. This needs to be sorted from the smallest, A, to the largest, Z. It's weird that they choose letters to replicate numerical columns, but it could be alphabetical, or it could be 1 to 1 million. The opposite way would be 1 million to 1. If you understand that, I'm sure you do. So this is sorting from the smallest value to the highest value. So that's the first sort. We're now going to add in another sort column, just in case we have an equal time. And then I've decided the next thing to sort on would be the cash. This time we want to be sorting cash column from the largest to the smallest, so the person who picks up the most cash in a situation where they both have the same time would be sorted to the top of the leaderboard, which seems to make sense. And then we just add in another sort column, which is showing jewels. Again, we want to sort to the greatest number of jewels to the smallest number of jewels. As you can see, we've now selected all of those things. We're sorting in that range that we've selected, A1 to J51. If we now hit sort, I will rise to the top like a phoenix. I don't know why I said that, but add in a little bit of frivolity. And basically what that's done is resort everything in terms of the time after deductions, which is good news because that means it's working. What that also does is, as we've said already, this has changed these figures over here, which are the ones that are exported to the leaderboard. Nothing of any great excitement there, but it should show how it works. You'll notice that this is changed, all changes saved in Drive. So that means that as we've been making the changes, they've been saved, the database has been saved, the new data has been processed. And if we look across here into these other spreadsheets that I've set up, we now have a new leaderboard column which we're also exporting, which draws into the leaderboard column. And this one, which we needn't worry too much about, is an exportable column that doesn't include the formulas, so we're not pulling in these into the thing that's seen by the public. It's a terrible explanation, but it kind of makes sense to me at least. So that's kind of all done. The implications of that is that within the actual site, we have now our escape site, which looks as it always did, and this here is the data as was before we added in the new data, which is me going to the top. And hopefully if I hit refresh at this point, we should find that I'm now at the top of this leaderboard, and also within the Hall of Fame within this part here, which is the automatically updating. This is just a test for my purposes on something else, but this is the one that should automatically update, that replicates this data. So this is the old data. If I hit refresh now, so anybody coming to the site after the data had been implemented, we hopefully find that yes, okay, as you can see, fabulous news, it's actually worked for us. We now have a situation where I had the best time, 52:30. The person who's done the best for money was Luke Mills, who picked up 4,300, and the jewels again was me, was this new data of 45. You can see that's updated in this overall table, which includes all of the data, so you can flick through, as you can see, in terms of rank, of time after deductions. You can flick right through just automatically as per any table. The beauty is once the data is in, if for example we want to search on or sort the columns via cash, we can do that. So here we have the cash values sorted in order, and this tells you the final rank here. So the person who has the second best cash is Rebecca Croy, but she's actually ranked 6 because her time is only 55:20. Hopefully you can see how this is beginning to work. You can just click on something really simple. For example, you can see those that have and haven't escaped, for example. So these are all the people who have escaped, and these are the people who haven't. We just flick through, having a look at all the people in the table. The time after deductions, just sort back on there, and that gives us our normal one. We could have a look at the dates, for example. So here we go again. This is in order of the date completed. Look, it kind of makes sense to me. These are just little things that people could look at. We can even go alphabetical. We can go in terms of rank. All sortable, all dealable with. You can also search within it for a name. So supposing we were looking for anyone called Mills, we've got a couple of teams in there with Mills, automatically brings them up, tells them where they are in the rank. You can take the search off and see where they occurred. Here they are, 9 and 10. Pretty simple, pretty basic, but it does actually work if we behave like I've explained it. I know it's perhaps a bit more constraining than we thought it might be, but it does actually work. Going back to the original sheet then, one thing we have to be aware of, and I'm going to finish with this, is what to do if we need to delete data. We cannot just simply delete rows, because by deleting a row on its own, i.e. if we were to delete row 2 with this data in, which I am going to have to get rid of, I'll show how we do that. If we did that, all of these rows would move up one, and this would mean that this formula wouldn't reference the correct cells, which would be a disaster. The leaderboard would simply collapse because there'd be nothing in the data fields. So the way that we delete a row, we've gone through adding in a row, of course. The way that we would delete a row is to come into select the cells that we want to get rid of. So we go across from A to J, and then we go into edit, and we go to delete cells and shift up. Okay, it kind of makes sense. We're deleting those cells and everything else just shifts up a cell, but these will these over here won't move because they're not part of this selection. So here we go, just to demonstrate. If you watch carefully, edit, delete cells and shift up. As you can see, that data has been removed. This is the new data, which actually has returned it to where it was before. Before we put that new piece of data in, it's automatic. It's now saved in Google Drive as well, which means that were we to go back to the actual website, as you can see at the moment, without refreshing, it's the old data. This is the very old data. Natalie Glass, Luke Mills, Zoe Not Light. This was after we put my name in there with the made up figures. If I hit refresh again now, you'll see we've gone back to the original data with no crumbling of the data tables. So it is effectively working. We should be able to do that with all of the various games and provide leaderboards for all of those on that basis. I think it's the most effective way of dealing with it, which means that you're not constantly coming to us to delete the tables, etc. I'm going to leave this video up for you to reference should you need to, but of course if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. It's all done in Google Sheets. I will provide you with access to this Google Sheet, which is using data extracted from the Excel spreadsheet you sent over, but this is the one that you'll be adding into on the basis that I've explained. I hope that is reasonably clear and helpful, and thanks for listening, and I'm going to call it a day there. Okay guys, thank you.